What's up, guys? I'm EJ, and I'm joined by Kendall, and thank you all for watching this edition of our virtual NBA Draft War Room. We are now in the Central Division. Today, we'll be talking about the Chicago Bulls. Kendall, the Chicago Bulls, a team with a lot of turnover over in their front office and the head coaching staff, and a pretty high draft pick here. So a lot of attention to a big market franchise, a team that could be making a lot of moves this offseason given the big regime change.
Yeah, I mean, you remember when we did our lottery preview, the Bulls are one of the teams that I thought would get the number one pick in the draft or would move up. Did not get the number one pick, but they did move up to number 4. A lot of turnover this offseason. You know, new head of operations coming over from Denver, Arturas Karnisovas. They also brought over Mark Eversley from Philly, and then obviously a new head coach, which we'll get to. But no, it's this is a very interesting time because this is a team that has a lot of good young pieces already, but haven't really been able to break through and make the playoffs in quite a bit. So, being able to move into the top 4 when they were a team that wasn't that far off of making the playoffs already was certainly a big leap for them and a big deal for them.
Yeah, I think the Bulls are really a fascinating team because one, that clearly nothing. They really couldn't make any real decisions about moving forward with the team until they got rid of Boylan, and the whole front office situation just had to be resolved. Now it kind of feels like we go into the offseason with a little bit of a restart. I know the Bulls have kind of felt like they've been in a rebuild really since Jimmy Butler left the building, but now I really do feel like, okay, now I feel like they could put together a vision and a collective goal that makes sense. Moving forward with a coach in Billy Donovan, who I'm surprised he took this job a little bit. I would have assumed he would have wanted to coach a team closer to a winner, but I also feel like for Billy, this is a team that feels closer to maybe a college team. I think for him, he's going to come in with a little more say. The guys on the roster don't necessarily have as much cachet in this league. He'll also have a lot more say, maybe not wanting guys on the team. Maybe guys he may quickly say, hey, I want to get this guy out of here, and because this team really hasn't accomplished much, I'm sure Karnisovas won't be as maybe apprehensive of getting rid of some of even the younger pieces that maybe
he drafted none of
excited about.
He drafted none of these guys.
Exactly.
Those guys were all guard packs, and well, I actually think guard packs did a decent job bringing in guys that have talent. I mean, look at this roster. They don't. When we talked about the Charlotte Hornets, we said they were in. Or the Orlando Magic, rather, we said they were in basketball purgatory. And I don't know if the Bulls are. The Bulls have some young players that could develop into all-star talent.
Yeah, the Bulls, to me, have 4 guys who absolutely could be long-time starting players in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like 4 young guys. And that's I understand they didn't win a lot of games. I understand all those guys have their own flaws. But I'd rather be there than where the Magic are, where you don't have any young guys, really. Maybe besides Fultz. And Isaac's young, but he's tore his ACL. So that's the difference in those situations where you feel
they're not drafting in top 5.
Right, so, right. And the Bulls have a chance to add someone.
They did a good job of putting in that position where we're not good, but we have young players. So
yeah. So Karnisovas is not he's not working with a bare cabinet, so to speak. The cabinets are full. There's room to operate. So let's see what they'll do here. So let's give you guys a breakdown of the Chicago Bulls coming into this offseason. So Bulls finished with a 22-43 record. A very disappointing season. I think there were some people who had expectations the team could surprise people, maybe challenge for a playoff spot. That really didn't happen. They did not make the Orlando bubble, so their season ended early this year. They own picks number 4 and 44 headed into this NBA draft. For team needs, I put bench scoring in there. They really don't have. I said how they have 4 young guys who I think could be starters for a long time in this league potentially. After that, they don't really have a lot. I mean, there's really nobody on their bench that I look at and say that this is a guy that I think should be a long-term piece for them, or a guy who has the potential to be a long-time player in this league. Denzel Valentine really hasn't worked out for them. Chris Dunn. It's just not worked out for them. He's had injury issues and just hasn't really been what they hoped for. They played Satoransky's okay, but and I think he's a serviceable guard, but they're going to need an upgrade in that spot as well. Daniel Gafford, I don't think that's a real backup 5. They need depth. I mean, they're not a team with enough depth to me to compete in the NBA. So to me, they need some punch, whether it be at any position really, whether it be backup center, backup point guard, or someone on the wing. They need to find a way to get some scoring off that bench because they just didn't get enough last year to me. And I put depth as the other weakness because, like I said, they're just not that deep a team. Again, not enough high-end NBA players for the Bulls to really seriously compete for a playoff spot this year. And the other thing I put was I put the perimeter defenders because really they don't really have anybody who I look at and say that this is a guy that can really guard the ball on the perimeter, really with the exception of Shaq Harrison, who is a free agent.
Yeah, and Chris Dunn as well.
Yeah, and Chris Dunn, who also is a free agent. And also, I don't think that he's going to be back almost under any circumstances. So, your two best perimeter defenders could very well leave the team this year. Neither guy really was that great anyway. So, that's a huge flaw for this team that they're going to have to figure out. Free agents, as I said, you got Chris Dunn, Valentine, Harrison, Adam Makoka, and Max Strus, both two-way players. So for me, Kendall, looking at this team, they can go kind of any way here. I think the position, I don't think really position matters as much for this team. I think everybody, considering Levine could be a trade, he could be a attractive trade piece. I'm not even worried about the two guard position even for this team. Kobe White at the point guard position looks like he's a guy that's going to be able to score in this league, but is he more of a backup spark plug kind of starting a guard off the bench, or can he be your steady point guard playing 35 minutes a night? That's still up in the air. And then the two bigs, Carter and Markkanen, I think have showed potential. Both guys have been unable to stay healthy and have not been able to show consistency. So I don't really look at the position and say they need to stay away from a certain spot. But when you count all that in consideration, the 3 spot does look like a spot they may need to fill soon. Otto Porter, his contract's coming up, I think, after this season. So when I looked at the Bulls, and I haven't seen Denny Avdia mocked to them, but I think if I was the Bulls, I think I would take him. I know he might not start day one, but again, that's okay because I don't think that this Bulls team necessarily needs somebody that's going to come in and start. They need just depth. They need bodies. They need good NBA players.
Right.
And I think if you're looking at the players, and I guess I was doing my mock draft, if I'm looking at, okay, let's say Ball, let's say Wiseman, and let's say Edwards falls, well, who are the best guys available? Avdia is going to be in that conversation for me, and I think the Bulls could be in a position to need to get a best player available. I like him because he also has primary ball handling potential, and when you consider Kobe White is great off the ball potentially, I can run plays where I don't have to have him handling the ball. I could Avdia do that. Same thing with Zach LaVine as well, playing off the ball. I don't have to have him shouldering so much of the ball handling load. He's had to do that for that team for the last 2 seasons.
Yes.
If, of course, Zach LaVine is still on the team, which I assume he will be. So I think Denny Avdia is actually a really good fit. I'm surprised more people haven't gone that route in terms of mock drafts. I've seen them some places, but a lot of places I think have gone either big or point guard. I think Avdia would make a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. I think he complements a lot of the guys they have on the team currently. And again, Otto Porter beyond the season, he's probably he could be traded during the trade deadline next season, and even if he's not, I don't know if he'll be back after. So Avdia would be my first target.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Denny Avdia, kind of pairing with Chicago as well. He actually, interesting fun fact, he's actually a Chicago Bulls fan, which a lot of people don't know.
That's good for them because when you talked about the Knicks, all he said was that they were an NBA franchise. So like they asked him about, what do you think about the Knicks? He's like, well, they're an NBA franchise. So
typically, the European players and the international players are very fascinated with playing in New York. So, and Chicago he
is not one of them.
yeah. Chicago is also a market like that. So
it's funny because when he said that, I thought, oh, well, maybe he's not from America and maybe it's a language thing. And he's just, he doesn't really know what to say about the Knicks. So he just said something generic that he's probably saying about every other team. But when you told me that he's been telling everybody he's a Bulls fan, I'm like, oh no, he just really
Yeah,
doesn't want to talk about the
yeah, he
Knicks.
said this. Yeah, he said this a while ago. So I don't know if maybe his agent may have told him something different now. But so yeah, I mean, I see the reasoning behind him playing in Chicago. I agree that to me, I think primary ball handling at the guard position is important because look, I think big men. I'm fine with them at the 4 or 5 spot. I'm not sure if Carter and Markin is the best fit together, but that's what they have, and it's competent and it's better than most front courts in the NBA nowadays. So I'll ride with those two guys, you know. And I'm not sure how long Markin is going to be there, but I feel like Guard Pax would draft Obi Toppin. You know, just say, you know, we'll figure it out. 3 big men. But now that we have Karnisovas there, look, I think like I said, primary ball handling is the need for the Bulls. Kobe White, you mentioned, I think he is a fascinating prospect. Obviously, he made an all rookie team. Had some moments, especially right before the season shut down, where he looked like he could really go.
Yeah,
When it
it's
comes
like
to
it's like he shut down the league. Like
yeah, I
it's
know,
like
right?
he was getting buckets and then they stopped playing.
That's what guys were like, "Oh, slow down there, Kobe." And so yeah, no, he really showed some exciting flashes. But you mentioned the point guard ball, you know, playmaking and kind of overall running the team aspect, or things where he has to improve. And Zach LaVine, like you said, you don't know how long he's going to be there, and he's certainly not a guy who's going to make plays for other guys on the floor. And I think that's why we've seen some struggles from Markin and Carter. We've seen some inconsistencies from Markin and Carter because they're two bigs that kind of need good guards. And not to say that White and Levine aren't good guards because they're excellent in terms of scoring the basketball, but not making plays for other guys. So I think they do need a playmaker, and I like Danny Avdija, but I do wonder if there is some overlap with Tomas Satoransky, who they brought in last year. He's actually a guy I compared Avdija to in our draft comparisons video, if you want to check that out. But, um, you know, there is a little bit of overlap there. So I do wonder, do they go in a different direction? To me, I don't, honestly, this is a spot where maybe you look at LaMelo Ball. And, you know, I'm not the biggest LaMelo Ball fan. But when I think about where the Bulls are at, I wonder if he's a guy that could really help them um, in terms of having that size, being able to make plays, being a true point guard. Because that's the other question about Avdija. That while I like Avdija, he's not. I don't think he's a point guard at the NBA level right now. And while I think that's fine
Yeah,
if he goes to
he's not. Yeah,
Atlanta,
he's not like Luka Doncic, where like he is your point guard. He's your primary
right
ball
on
handler, no matter what
PT,
his
you
position
giving that
is.
guy the ball and saying get out of the way.
Right. Yeah.
Avdia is more of a guy where I feel like if he's got to either play with a really good guard that he can kind of like Atlanta, I think would be a nice fit because he doesn't have to be the point guard, but he could play with the ball in his hands if Trae Young can figure out how to play off the ball. I guess Chicago is similar, but I actually do feel like they need a point guard, and I think to me, I'm looking at Ball and I'm looking at Killian Hayes. Honestly, and if we're talking about which of those two I'm looking at, to me, the difference is how do you feel about Zach LaVine? And if you feel like Zach LaVine long term is a piece that you want to build around, then I'm going with LaMelo Ball because I think LaMelo Ball and Zach LaVine in the backcourt could be very interesting. Could be could be a lot of highlights. Could be very exciting. Not very great defensively, obviously, but some good athleticism, some good size, and again, the excitement in Chicago would be there. If you say to yourself, Zach LaVine is not a guy that we really are looking necessarily to build around, then I say you go with Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes is a guy that can play the 1 and the 2, can give you a scoring punch that I don't know if LaMelo Ball is going to be able to give you early on in his career. And he's a guy that's a very good passer. It's proven that he can make plays for other guys and can, you know, it has that combo guard ability. So to me, I think those are the guys that I'm looking at. But the one thing I will mention is I think honestly, if I were Karnisovas and I looked at we just hired Billy Donovan, who we mentioned. Why would he take this job? Well, we mentioned the young pieces they have: Zach LaVine, marketing, Carter. You know, that's an awkward fit. I would say, and you have this pick. However you feel about this pick, I would consider packaging LaVine, maybe one of the two big men, or this pick, or this pick, depending on what it costs, to try and get a local guy in Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, obviously from St. Louis. I'm not insinuating that people from being from St. Louis and being from Chicago is the same thing, because they're obviously not.
Yeah, because trust me, when you said local guy, I was like, that ain't gonna get you Anthony Davis. I didn't know what you were talking about.
I know. Yeah,
I was like, Chicago, like, what Chicago guy is they gonna get for that package?
Yeah, I was spitting. Yeah, Iman Shumpert.
Yeah, trust me, with the way the Chicago-St. Louis rivalry is real, there are a lot of people who are gonna be not happy that you call Beal a local guy.
Same thing, right? Chicago, St. Louis.
Yeah, no, that's how you know Chicago fans' apologies. That's an arrogant New Yorker who's just like, y'all in the Midwest, y'all the same, y'all are from Chicago.
Yeah. So I mean, but no. I mean, if we're talking for Bradley Beal, like that's the closest place to St. Louis in the league. So he's coming somewhat back to home, playing for Billy Donovan. I think that's the move that I'm honestly making. And if it takes moving this pick, then I would consider it. If you don't have to move the pick, that's ideal. But I think I'm saying to myself, I'm going to try and get Bradley Beal, and we're a playoff team next year.
And it's funny you say that, because when Billy was hired, I thought it was very fascinating that Bradley Beal tweeted, "Very good move." Like, I understand that was Chicago's coach, but commenting on any other team's front office moves or coaching moves, it's just weird.
It's reverse tampering.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, it's rare. Like, I do remember like Wade like being hyped about Fizdale being hired by the Knicks. But even that was also kind of like an outlier. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, because Wade was at the end of his career.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't going.
If Wade was in his prime, we'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. It would sound a lot different.
Wade was basically retired at that point anyway, so it was like nobody cared. But
exactly.
Like, you're talking about a player who's already kind of 1 foot out the door in Washington, saying very good move.
Yeah, he's admonishing other big market teams' big moves by hiring his former head coach.
Yes.
It's a little weird.
To a team that is, again, in this local market.
A team that we know is star hunting.
It has to be star hunting.
Yeah.
They've been in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So it was bizarre. And to me, if I'm Karnisovas, and that was just pure luck, my ears are perked up, and I'm saying, how do we get Bradley Beal to Chicago? Because, he is going to be a free agent soon, so he has to go to a place where you feel like he's going to be able to sign long term. And I feel like if I'm Chicago, we have the pieces to bring him here, compete for a playoff spot, and have him help us recruit other star players to play in Chicago. So that's the move I'm making. I don't know if Washington would have interest, but I would think for them having a second top 10 pick would be enticing.
And real quickly, when it came to other targets, I did have Killian Hayes listed. The reason why I'm not excited about the point guard is I just felt like with Hayes, even though I think if you really made me choose between him and Ball in terms of who I think is the better point guard, I probably would lean Hayes. But I guess I just think there's a little bit of redundancy with him and White. I think Hayes is more of a point guard, so I think that you feel a little more comfortable with. But I feel like if I'm going to get another point guard, I just want him to be totally different than the guy I have. Who I do think can play. I think that White is a guy who should be part of their future fold. Maybe, again, if he's not a starter, but he's a guy you come in and spell for. So that was the only reason why I hesitated on Hayes, but he was on my list. The other guy I had, I think this guy is probably, it's kind of hard to understand where he's going to go because there's so much mystery around him. But I did put Wiseman in there. He would be my second target if he does fall. I know they have Wendell Carter. I'm trading Wendell Carter if I get James Wiseman. I think that at that point, Carter's a good young player. He's got some health issues that, they just seem to be nagging issues that kind of concern me a little bit. But I think he has enough value. He's done enough to where I can probably get some decent value for him. And I think if you told me today, would I rather have Wendell Carter year 3 or Wiseman year 1, I'm taking Wiseman 100% of the time. There's not a conversation.
So you're taking the Arizona Cardinals, Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray approach of
pretty much.
Yeah, we have a center, but a young center, or the Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence thing that Jets fans are talking about now, where it's like, look, we got a quarterback, but this guy, we have the number 1 pick in the draft.
And it's not really anything against Carter. Again, besides injuries, I don't really have any other issues with him. I thought he'd be a little bit better of a rim protector, but besides that, I think he's played well. It's just, I think Wiseman has a chance to be a game changing type of big man.
I
And
agree.
he's younger, and he's on his rookie clock is on his rookie contract's on a different clock. And to me, it would just make sense to say, okay, let's just move on from Carter because we got a better guy, and you'll get decent value. I mean, you'll probably get a first round pick for Carter. So like,
Oh,
yeah.
You
So
might,
to me,
but
that's a no brainer. Like in my opinion, that's a no brainer. I don't know.
to me,
Bulls fans
it's
may not
just-
want to give
I
him
don't
up,
know
but
if
I would do it in a second.
I agree that I like Wiseman better than Wendell Carter in a vacuum, but I don't know if he's offering the value to Chicago because again, the point guard spot is still so weak, and
But the Bulls
in
also
terms of
had
making
no.
this roster.
They had no. And I didn't list it as one of the issues, but they also were not an athletic team in the front court, and that was a big issue.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Chicago fans like Daniel Gafford more than you give him credit for. We'll see what he ends up. He's young. He had some interesting performances last year.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of had a little bit of a Robert Williams kind of vibe to him.
Yeah.
In terms of how Bulls fans see him with Celtics fans, compared to what Celtics fans how they view Bob Williams. But I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know how much better Wiseman is making you, and it's kind of like what I talked about when we talked about Wiseman to the Hornets. But in terms of with no point guard, Wiseman's only going to be but so effective, or with no playmaking point guard. But the difference is that the Bulls are only going to be but so bad. So you're not going to then say to yourself, well, look, we'll get Kate Cunningham next year. Like the Hornets, I'd say, you know what? Yeah, you get Wiseman, you're going to stink again. You get Kate Cunningham, and they'll be one of the best dynamic duos in the league. Or you get Jalen Green, it'll be one of the best dynamic duos in the league. Or Terrence Clark, or Jalen Suggs. With the Bulls, if you draft Wiseman, you're still probably going to be competing for the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. That means now you're stuck with Kobe White and these guys long term. Unless, look, I don't know what the cap space situation is like. Do they have the money to go out and get someone like Fred VanVleet? That could be another way of solving that.
I mean, I don't think they have that money because they're tied into Levine.
Yeah, they
they're
got
tied
Porter.
into Porter. So there's almost no way they have that kind of money.
They're gonna have to play Markkanen soon. It's not an envious position, but it's much better than this situation. Other situations. That
You'd much rather be the Bulls in Charlotte or Orlando, as we've said before.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens, man. But that's gonna do it for this video. What do you guys think the Chicago Bulls should do? Should they try to package this pick in one of their young stars to try to get a superstar like Bradley Beal? So they stick with this pick, and if they do, where you think they should go? Leave a comment. Make sure you like this video if you did enjoy it, and of course, make sure you subscribe to our channel, New Generation Media, to catch all of our virtual NBA draft war we have this entire draft season. That's going to do it for now. For Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.